Welcome back to MyRider, and our summer schedule is in. The big goal is the Tour de Suisse, which is followed by a home race at the Tour de Wallonie. Before both of those, though, we go to France and take a hilly team with us, while Arnaud Marit will be our sprinter. 3 stages of varying difficulty await, and we start with a flat stage.
The first stage from Thionville to Vittel harbours no real slopes. A good opportunity for a sprinter to don the leader's jersey.
But before that is the intermediate sprints, and there's 2 of them on each of these stages. This is the first one, and there is a 3-rider group up the road of Brustenga, Angulo and Hennecin. We should be able to bring them back, but what we can't do at the moment is get through this wall of death with Arnaud Marit. As we go for the sprint with Marit, we're getting in the draft of a couple of sprinters. It might have been a little too late on the launch, but we could just about get 5th maybe from the peloton. Yes, we do. Not a bad sprint. If we time it better, we can really challenge. And now is the second opportunity to try and redeem ourselves based on the first sprint. There are 3 kilometers until we get there. Usually, with intermediate sprints, I don't bother going for a lead-out rider or anything because of this massive wall that just forms at the front of the peloton. It kind of makes it a little bit uninteresting to get involved in intermediate sprints this year because of this massive wall, and it kind of makes it a little bit less fun. But whatever, we will try our best to score some points with Arnaud Marit. Off we go for the intermediate sprint, and actually, we get a good launch this time. We launch a little bit early, if anything, but Groves is in the wheel, but we get across the line and we win that intermediate sprint. So that is the view from Arnaud Marit. Here is the view of Noah Peeters, who we've sent towards the front of the peloton to reel in this 3-man group. And with a bit of help from Tudor Pro Cycling and various other sprinters teams, that has been done, which means it is the battle of the trains now, and Decathlon AG Desert are doing a fantastic job to get their riders in position. It's Felix Gall on the front who's trying to force the tempo, but now it will be the flat specialists as Gall moves across and lets the rest of the team go. This is Axel Zangler we are with at the moment, the yellow jersey of Visma Lease-A-Bike, looking to turn that into a yellow leader's jersey, but he's going to have to go from very far out. He's in the wheels, giving him a bit of a draft. Now he's on the inside, getting squeezed by Vandenberg, but he makes it through and gets to the line and wins the opening stage of Boucle de la Mayenne. The French rider on home soil takes the victory. So there it is, and you cannot fault Axel Zangler. He was the best sprinter on the day, who had the best kick, timed it to perfection, and positioned himself on the correct side of the road. The left side of the road was the shortest path to the finish, and Zangler got there first, ahead of Marijn Vandenberg in second, Milano third, Groves fourth, and Gaviria in fifth. Arnaud Marit with a terrible sprint. He was out-sprinted by our GC leader Kobe Goossens and finished 23rd, so we need to improve.
Hello and welcome to all. This is a stage that could perhaps smile on the brave. The rugged terrain should discourage the sprinters from chasing down breakaways, and the climbs don't look demanding enough for them to encourage any action on the part of the favourites. Therefore, everything points towards a breakaway riding to victory in the streets of Colmar. Then again, cycling has never been an exact science.
Okay, lads. Today, the early breakaway could go far and could perhaps envisage stage victory. It's worth placing someone up front.
So the commentator thinks it's going to be a day for the breakaway, and so do I. We're going to get Louis Barret up the road. 4 riders have joined Louis Barret on this expedition up the road. It's Arnaud Démare, Simon Dehaes, Luca Mozzato and Nicolau of Caja Rural, who is the only non-sprinter in this group, which should be key for us to get the King of the Mountains jersey, but not on this first line because it is a flat all the way to the finish from this point. Demare's on our left-hand side, Mozzato on the right. I think we're going to get beaten by both, but Demare's tying up. Meanwhile, Simon Dehaes will come around to take the remaining point. Oh well, there are other climbs on the routes where we will be quicker though. Climb 2 then, and this is more like Louis Barret's territory, a steeper uphill finish to this climb, so it's going to be Barret against Nicolau, unless Luca Mozzato maybe has anything to do with it. I think it might be too hard for Démare and Dehaes, so we're going to stick to the back of this group and then time our run, which we're going to go for now, leading them out underneath the 1 kilometre to go banner. But riders have gone early, and it's Nicolau that has launched it, which is fascinating because he should be the best in a sprint from this group, apart from us, and we're going to launch that sprint right now on the left-hand side, up the inside of that corner, and it should be an easy victory for Bardet. It is, ahead of Arnaud Démare in second. This is going to be a lot more competitive though, the intermediate sprints, and we've got lots of sprinters in this group, so we are just going to take a front row seat and watch them all battle it out for intermediate sprint points. We're not really going to trouble any of the sprinters, so we're just going to sit from a safe distance and watch this one unfold. We'll take it up from the front, but Arnaud Démare and Simon De Haes will probably battle it out for maximum points. There goes Nicolau. De Haes on the right-hand side. Démare is not sprinting for it, weirdly enough. Mozzato is for Arkea B&B Hotels, and it's Simon De Haes that gets there. But that's not our job. Our job is with Arnaud Marit, and he is trying to work his way towards that wall of death at the front of the peloton. We're trying to try and make our way through. Under a kilometre to go, and we're in the wheel of a couple of sprinters. It's going to be minor placings for Marit, and we are tying up now towards the line. Vandenberg jumps us, and Zangler takes the points, which is not brilliant for our green jersey hopes. I think Zangler has pretty much secured that jersey at this point. Back to Bardet then, and we have 2.5 kilometres until we summit the next climb of the day. Louis Bardet is sitting on the back of the breakaway, which is just accelerating now, so hopefully I don't use up any red chasing this down. But Arkea B&B Hotels, with Arnaud Démare on the front, are absolutely ripping it, so I might have to attack to get across to these guys and then attack again to see if I can get the points. Get onto the wheel of Simon De Haes, there we go. And we're back with the group. But in the peloton, riders are being spat out of the back, left, right and centre. Michael Matthews is the biggest name to have been dropped as we come to the front of the group and see if we can take this up from the front. We've dropped Arnaud Démare, who has set this one up for Luca Mozzato, but Mozzato's not interested in the points. Nicolau is, and we sprint past the Caja Rural rider to take maximum points over that King of the Mountains summit. So we've strengthened our lead in that classification. The breakaway has lost a rider as we approach the intermediate sprint. Arnaud Démare has been dropped, and the gap has also dropped. It was 2 minutes last time we spoke. Now it is under a minute as the peloton increases the pace to the second intermediate sprint point. We're going to take it up from the front. Obviously, we're not going to get involved because that's Luca Mozzato and Simon De Haes' job. They've gone very late, actually, so I could have a chance at getting round one of them. Mozzato is tying up towards the line, but De Haes takes the win. 40 kilometres to go and the breakaway is being reeled in. Louis Bardet being the last rider to be caught from the leading group. Which means it's over to our GC leaders, and Lorenzo Rota is going to be used as part of a daring strategy by Intermarché-Wanty. He's going to get sent up the road. We've just got him and Kobe Goossens left in the peloton. So Rota I'm going to send up the road and use as bait to dangle out in front of the other GC teams who are going to try and chase me down. Even though I know that Rota's not going to make it to the end of the stage, I am just using him to get rid of domestiques from other teams, and then Kobe Goossens has less competition going up this final climb. So Rota, who took the points over the top of the last climb with Goossens in second, is going up the road. Now he's starting to tie up, but look at the amount of riders who have been dropped from the peloton. Just 25 left in the peloton, soon to be 26 as Rota gets swept up. Now we're going to switch to Kobe Goossens and complete the second part of our Visma Lease-A-Bike style 1-2 attacks. Of course, remember Col de Granon with Primoz Roglic and Jonas Vingegaard. This is slightly lower quality, let's say, than Primoz Roglic and Jonas Vingegaard, but Kobe Goossens is just going to raise the tempo now and ride over the top of the mountain on his own tempo, just so we can tire the peloton out as much as possible. We've sat out of the wind all day, and Axel Zangler is doing an amazing job to stay at the front. He suits a flat finish, but will he have the energy come the end of this stage? Kobe Goossens is trying his best to get rid of everybody else in this peloton, and it is shedding riders. 13 riders now in the yellow jersey group at the front of the race, as Kobe Goossens takes himself 2 points for the King of the Mountains classification. The group is down to 11 now. Ben Healy has been dropped, and Frank Vandenbroek, more importantly, has been dropped, which means there are 11 riders at the front, and none of them are from the same team. Romain Bardet's teammate has been dropped, which means it is 1 against 1 against 1 against 1 against 1 against 1, all the way to 11. I'm not going to do all the counting. 3.5 kilometers to go, and there have been constant attacks throughout, but there has been a slight lull recently, so I'm going to go on an offensive with Kobe Goossens. Let's see how we do. Well, Kobe Goossens has blinked last, but he has blinked at the right time, because all of the riders in Group 2, including yellow jersey Axel Zangler, are looking at each other, and Goossens is increasing the gap. He looks like he's going to go and steal the stage from the rest of the group. Zangler's going to come to the front to try and restore his jersey that is going up the road to the Belgian on Intermarché-Wanty at the moment. Kobe Goossens underneath 1 kilometer to go and is time trialling this one to the line. He's going to win the stage, but how much of a gap can he pull out sprinting to the line? Goossens is going to be your winner and will be the new yellow jersey as the clock ticks by. Zangler finishes second and takes bonus seconds, but it won't be enough to keep the yellow jersey on his shoulders. Kobe Goossens is the new leader of Boucle de la Mayenne. Well, as the chase group started to have a staring contest, we decided to blink, and that was the right decision, because Kobe Goossens moves into the lead of the race and takes the leader's yellow jersey. Not only that, but Louis Barret will be the leader in the King of the Mountains classification at the end of today as well, which is fantastic for the team. So Goossens leads the GC 18 seconds ahead of Zangler and 30 seconds ahead of Clément Champoussin, with Matthias Skjelmose, Romain Bardet, Alex Vlasov, Kwiatkowski, etc. on 38 seconds. So plenty of riders for us to keep an eye out for, but a healthy advantage going into the final stage.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. With the Petit Ballon and Platz Vasel coming one after the other, the stage seems destined to go to a climber. However, some riders who let go on these climbs could well claw their way back before the finish and shake things up for the stage win.
It's that time of the day again. Louis Barret is in a breakaway, and he's got company this time because we've sent Arne Marit up the road as well. Multiple sprinters have tried to follow, but Marit is the best going up the climbs, which is surprising me, but we've got a good team here at this race, so maybe it's not that surprising. Other riders up there include Yves Lampaert, Paul Lennecart, and Brian Cocard, who have been dropped. Meanwhile, the better climbers are coming to the top. Chris Harper, Emmanuel Buchmann are our main 2 rivals, but Louis Barret is going to try and sprint around both of them, as well as Nicolau from Caja Rural. Make sure that we get the points and keep hold of this King of the Mountains classification. Late charge towards the end and everybody else is tying up, which means Barret comes around the outside and takes maximum points, and Arne Marit is going to still be in this group, which should be very useful for Louis Barret's stage win hopes. So now everybody bar Brian Cocard will join up to the breakaway and make it a 7-rider leading group. Cocard looks like he's going to be caught by the peloton, which is 4.5 minutes behind, and we are now controlling Arne Marit, who's going to try his best to take maximum points at the intermediate sprints. Given that Lampaert and Lennecart have been dropped, it should be fairly simple against 3 climby sort of guys in this breakaway. But here we go. On the left-hand side, we should have enough energy and sprint quality to beat all of these guys, and indeed we do, flying away from all of them and easing off the gas towards the end to take 20 points. That one was really more out of pride than anything else, but this is the serious business. Louis Bardet back in the King of the Mountains jersey, and the breakaway has thinned drastically. Yves Lampaert has been dropped, Paul Hinault has been dropped, and Arne Marit is now off the back, as is Nicolau, which means we have 3 riders in the lead of this race. The peloton is 3 minutes 34 behind us, and we are underneath 1 kilometre to go until the top of this climb. We just have to stick with these guys with the points advantage that we've got, but they look to have less energy than Louis Bardet. We're up behind Emmanuel Buchmann, going on the left hand side and getting round him, using our better acceleration to make sure we take more points and increase our lead in the King of the Mountains. This is becoming all too easy for Louis Bardet because now he only has to focus on 2 riders, Emmanuel Buchmann and Chris Harper. So he's going to take it up all on his own, and those guys are having none of it. So that should be 3 points for Louis Bardet. They've given up their quest for the King of the Mountains jersey and are just allowing Bardet to take the rest of the points. Meanwhile, the peloton is starting to thin out. The sprinters are getting dropped, which means Barret's chances of winning the stage with 50 kilometres to go are very unlikely now that the gap is at 2 minutes and 55 seconds. We've still got plenty of climbing left as well, but Barret's going to take maximum points, and it looks like the other 2 riders have given up trying to beat me in the mountain climbs, so that is very nice indeed. And Buchmann and Harper never ended up making it back to Louis Bardet, who was the last rider in the breakaway to be caught by the peloton. A peloton which is being shepherded by Kobe Goossens in the yellow jersey, trying to take points off our rivals. We've pretty much sewn up the King of the Mountains jersey anyway, but we're just going to make sure, and it would actually quite help to thin out this group to make sure that there are fewer attacks in the final section for us to follow. So we've come to the front, taken the points, but in doing so thinned the group even more and got rid of the likes of Scaroni and Guglielmi, who would have been dangerous because they're quite well placed in the general classification. So, good result for Kobe Goossens. Now he's just got to lock in and follow all of the attacks from the people around him in the general classification. 7 kilometres to go, and it has been immensely quiet, but just as I say that, Romain Bardet is going off the front with Clément Champoussin, so we have to try and chase this one down. I didn't want to push the tempo too heavily at the front of this race for risk of running out of my blue energy, but it looks like we now have enough stamina in the bank to make sure that we can get to the line without having any troubles or risk of blowing up. So that is what I'm going to do, control things and see where we end up. Which means it could be a day for the hillier sprinters to prosper as more attacks are going off the front, and once again it's Romain Bardet that is trying it, but all of the rest of the GC riders around him are on his case. Everybody is locked onto that rear wheel of the Picnic PostNL rider as Ineos see an opportunity, and the gap has formed. Michał Kwiatkowski at the front of the race is continuing to drive this one on, getting an advantage early on in the sprint as we come to Kobe Goossens, trying to chase him down, but Kwiatkowski has stolen a march and stolen the stage. Goossens sprints to second, great result to round off his race, but Kwiatkowski is your stage winner. Unker's still got it. Michał Kwiatkowski wins the third and final stage of Boucle de la Mayenne, but what matters to us is that Louis Bardet is in the King of the Mountains jersey and wins that particular award. But Kobe Goossens is the GC winner at Boucle de la Mayenne, and he did it in a convincing fashion. Only losing 7 seconds to Kwiatkowski on the day, Mauro Schmid finishing third, Van Hills fourth, and Albanese rounding out the top 5 on the stage. But more importantly, in the general classification, Kobe Goossens wins 31 seconds ahead of Michał Kwiatkowski, with Champoussin finishing third and Bardet dropping to 6th. But Goossens wins Boucle de la Mayenne, and once again, this Intermarché-Wanty season gets better and better. The management is seeing that too, because Noah Peeters has a stacked end of the season coming his way for a young rider riding his first World Tour stage race at the Tour de Suisse. That is up in the next episode, so don't miss that. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Stay safe, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.